Hello and welcome back. We are here, Cyber Misfits game. It is Monday, December, what's the date? 4th?
December the 3rd.
December the 3rd. I'm a day ahead. Yeah, how about that? So let's go, let's get into this. There's a couple things that we want to talk about. But first, let's give a couple of updates. As you're aware, the Cyber Misfits site is up and running. That is www.cyber-misfits.com. If you haven't had an opportunity to take a look at the site, you are missing out. I will be
Pretty
offering,
fantastic.
I know. I'll be offering some coaching classes and also some mentoring services. So if you're in the IT field or you just need someone to help push you along throughout your journey, your professional journey, please, please, please make sure that you take a look at the site. And also make sure that you register as a member. With the member, you get certain perks. There is the paid membership. Also, you could pay, it is $19.95 a month. And then there's also the free membership, which is honestly free. And then there's also, you can pay by the year. If you pay by the year, you get an extra 10% off any of the coaching packages. So make sure you do check it out. I'm a pretty good coach and will push you along because your success is my success. And it makes me very happy when I see people succeed. So again, make sure you take a look at that site, www.cyber-misfits.com. To see all of the services that is offered on the site. So that's an update with me. So Mr. Chance Corley, what's been going on with you?
Well, it has been a while. I'm still living here in Colorado, Denver area, and it is extremely cold at the moment. It is extremely cold. I would definitely trade. It's a high 26 right now, actually.
Oh, wow.
High 26. You know, if I could snap my fingers and trade places with you in sunny Hawaii, I definitely would.
Well, it's a little cold over here. It's about 74 degrees.
Oh, wow.
I need to rub that in your face.
Oh, wow. I wish I could take some of that right now. But other than surviving the cold, I am in a new position, work-wise, actually, changed profession, and I currently find myself doing data analytics, working in programs like SkySpark and Niagara to do, data analytics. Takes in data from various systems, from HVAC systems and buildings to security systems to power monitoring to all types of stuff. Take that data in and just identify various patterns for anomalies, give predictive solutions for just the best solutions going forward for the most part. So it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. I'll definitely give more detail at a later podcast for sure, but I don't want to dive into weeds too deep right now.
Oh, okay.
But so other than that, it's been fantastic. There's a lot of activity going on in Denver, and Colorado as a whole, you know, being the up and coming tech state as it is. So it's exciting what's on the horizon here in the state.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So let's go ahead and touch on some of these topics. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is biometrics.
Interesting.
Before I dive deeper into biometrics, I want to first, just what are your thoughts on biometrics?
I think just like many other advanced technologies, I think biometrics definitely has an active place in modern times where we are. I think that biometrics has the potential to make things so much easier for us, so much easier from a security standpoint, or just even, a basic, just making life easier just for the typical person. I've seen biometrics used in so many different fashions, not just, getting into your account or just layers of security onto your account, or retinal scanning, to access your bank account or anything like that, but also, to take it to a more practical application, like using biometrics to enter your home,
Oh wow,
So
I
I've
haven't
seen it.
seen that yet.
Yeah, so I've seen it. I've seen it applied in numerous ways. So again, I can definitely see the pros with it, but just like everything, I also think there are cons as well. You know.
Okay. So, in case any of you guys don't know what biometrics is, biometrics is a technical term that's used for body measurements and calculations. So, basically, when you, let's say, new technology nowadays, like your phone, you can use your fingerprint to log in to your phone, open your phone up, for example. So, when you put your finger on the scanner, is after you register your fingerprint for the first time, it gets turned into ones and zeros. So it turns into code. So that code is remembered on the device. So the next time it reads the same code again, it will log you on the computer. Okay. So nowadays, as technology advances, we are trying to find simpler ways to log into the devices, to access security. And so it's gearing more towards biometrics. Do two people have the same fingerprints? Probably not. Um,
Would you say it's a very secure method then? Like two people don't have the same fingerprints, but in the case of someone using their retinal scan to access their front door, and automatically open the lock and allow that person entry, do you feel like there's any security risk with that at all?
so a couple things. So let's talk about the level of false positives with the use of biometrics. And a false positive is when it will read a fingerprint and say, yes, you're good to go, when actuality you're not. That's a false positive. There's also false negatives when it's actually rejecting the match and it's not the correct match. So there's all types of issues and things with the use of biometrics. I am not against it at all,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that there's a lot of people utilizing biometrics, but they need to think of the security of the binary code that comes after the use of biometrics. Okay, so once you scan your, like I said, once you scan your fingerprint in, it turns into ones and zeros, which is essentially binary code. Okay, where is that being stored? If it's stored on a server that's can be hacked, then anybody can take that binary code. Okay, and if your
Good
fingerprint
point.
is converted into binary code, you can essentially, for the most part, use that binary code and I don't know, have fun with it, because that's essentially what your device is reading is just a binary
Mm-hmm.
code. And nowadays they have the 3D scanners, and you could essentially, I don't know, lift someone's fingerprint off of something and scan it in, use your 3D printer to print off their fingerprint. So now you have a copy of your
Wow.
fingerprint, and then you can get that and convert that into binary code. And who knows a possibility? So it's, to me, it is displaying a false sense of security. That's my opinion. So users who are unaware, they will see, okay, oh wow, biometrics, nice, nice. I can use this to log into my daycare and get my child out. My kid is so safe, when there's so many other factors that are involved. Like, how is that being safe? How is that being secured? Like, do you have the proper things in place for the server that holds the binary codes for these? So I think if if biometrics is being used, there should be some other method of authentication used in that process as well. So that's my opinion about biometrics.
Hmm.
There was this
I have
article.
not
Uh-huh.
I have not considered 3D printing actually. I've ran through various scenarios in my own mind to find the cons of biometrics, but I definitely did not consider that possibility as far as someone being able to do just that, to use a 3D print to be able to print that binary code out in a fingerprint fashion.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that's
it's
actually
so
kind of scary.
it's easy, and you can buy a 3D printer for cheap nowadays.
Oh
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
and I mean, you saw it on like, spy movies, where they go and they take the fingerprint, they lift the fingerprint,
Oh
and
yeah,
granted, all that takes time, but it is possible, and I don't think too
but
many
it's
people
possible.
think about that. So I came across this article on the Morning Express with Robin Mead, and they're talking about biometrics used in the school system. So there's some schools are making the children use biometrics to authenticate themselves in like the cafeteria or the library. So there's this huge discussion out on would you are you for this or are you against it kind of thing. So what are your thoughts?
Hmm. You know, I personally just grew up in a time, just a different time altogether from where we are now with technology. So initially, I would say that I am not a fan of systems in place that seems like we're registering people. We're
Yes.
registering children, and we're registering ourselves for some entity, some governmental entity, or whatever company to be able to to track people like that.
And
Once
process
you
them.
scan your yeah and process them. But again, I say that with a grain of salt, not just a hypocrite, only because just look where we are right now. Look, look where we are with things. I may not be using biometrics on a regular basis, but I do have my social media accounts. I do have other various accounts, to where it requires you to, set an account, put your personal information in there. So where I'm not being processed by biometric means, I, I, I understand that I'm being processed in some other fashion, unfortunately. So with that said, the times that we are in right now, with technology, for example, when I was a kid, I certainly, didn't get uh, my iPad assigned to me with my lessons on my iPad. I
Mhm.
definitely had old school books back in the day,
Yes,
with book
yes.
covers and all that. So, but here we are now in a totally different time, and it's not a bad thing. It's just a recommendation.
So let's talk
So
about
with that,
processing. You mentioned
mhm,
that. I want to touch on that real quick before I lose my train of thought.
mhm,
So once, let's say a school has the biometrics of a student, um, I don't know if there's certain measures in place to say this is the only thing it'll be used for, or they can use it for other stuff, or now their fingerprints are in a system at the school. So if it's in the school, does the school own those fingerprints? Now that they're using, like, is that a part of their uh, parent agreement thing as far as with biometrics? And then if the student commits a crime or they're trying to find a student, does the police have the authority to get your student's fingerprints from the school if the school now owns it? You see what I'm
hmm.
saying? So it's like all
Oh,
these
absolutely.
in place. And then also, like, we get into where we're making our children get used to or accustomed to authenticating with their body, their fingerprints and everything. So when I feel like there's going to be a time to where it's like now we're going to have the barcodes on our hands, you know so all of our information is just on that barcode. So we scan it, that's our credit card. We scan it, that's our debit card, and that is how we authenticate ourselves. That's
So
that's
speaking of that barcode tidbit there, in Australia years back, they actually started implementing that already, that type of technology. It's a little chip that is implanted in your hand, and
Oh,
that
scary.
chip has, what'd you say?
That's scary.
Oh, I know, right? But and, and again, people argue the convenience of it, and of course, with everything there are pros and cons. That chip, it has people's information on it. It has their credit information, their like a payment method rather. So people can actually use that, scan their hand, and proceed along with their business. But again, like the idea of something or someone constantly tracking my location like that, it definitely, makes my skin crawl a little bit. But back to the example of the school and the children using biometrics to get around, and that information, the school having that information, and what they are able to do with that. I think Facebook and some of these other social media companies are similar examples of that, to where we put our information on Facebook, on these social media platforms, with the the attention of the illusion of privacy, and just sharing with our friends. But yet this company, again, is allowed to sell our information to other companies, ad companies, marketing companies. So I would implore a parent to actually dive in a little deeper to see as far as their children's information and what authority the school actually has to give that out. But it's definitely new times, like we're headed, it seems like our society, and again, this generation right now, I thought the millennial generation, was a tech savvy generation, but the current generation right now, this is it. This is it. This is a technology path, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, to be honest. I see the pros and cons. I definitely do. And I think what Spider-Man's uncle said it the best: with great power
Comes
comes
great
great responsibility. So technology is not going to slow down, at all. Technology is not going to slow down. So it just makes sense for our generations to be apt with it. It makes sense for our generations to be leading that technology and hopefully gearing it towards safe and productive uses. So,
Okay. I agree.
so that's my opinion on it.
So let's dive into, with great power comes great responsibility. And let's talk about when these organizations do have our information, kind of some of the risks that are involved with that. So let's talk about two of the hacks that has happened recently, two of the big hacks. So the United States Post Office they just patched a critical security vulnerability that exposed the data of more than 60 million customers. So anybody who has an account at the USPS.com website, you basically had your information at risk. Your data was exposed, that is names, any potential credit card information that you have, all of that, phone numbers, address, mailing addresses, email addresses, all of that stuff was exposed. So not only that, more recently, the Marriott has been hacked, and 500 million people have had their information compromised. And that will include names, addresses, phone numbers, email address, passport numbers, account information, date of birth, gender, the date you arrived and the date you departed from the hotels. So they have all this information. So what are your thoughts on that? And these aren't just little hacks. These are These are
Yeah, those are extensive.
enormous hacks. And the hackers for the Marriott International hotels, um, they would have had access from information dating back to 2014, which is
Hmm.
nuts. Because I know I like the Marriott, so pretty scary.
Yeah, it is. You know, and the sad thing is, I'm not sure that there really is a good answer for this. You know, the obvious would be for companies to, you know, to wake up and, you know, to really boost their security in the wake of these tragic cyber events occurring. But I know that these companies are doing just that.
Well,
You
I
know,
think they're
I
complacent in
imagine,
that area.
well, I imagine that there are definitely companies rolling the dice and just crossing their fingers and hoping, you know, for the best, or hoping that, you know, they're not at a level to where it'll warrant attention from, you know, black hat hackers. But I also know that there are companies actually, you know, investing quite a bit of their annual budget towards just that, towards security. But again, just like what we're talking about with technology, as something new comes out, this amazing, you know, piece of technology that can be used for all these amazing things, someone can easily look at that and see a bunch of terrible things that you could do with it, and they do just that. You know, so people have the knowledge to increase security, but people also have the knowledge to bypass security. So I honestly, unfortunately, just don't have the answer for it. It's just an ongoing battle of you know, good and bad. It's the ongoing battle, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if any companies are able to make their system fully, you know, unhackable.
You
But
know, yeah,
regardless of, regardless of you know, these events continuing to occur, especially something as massive as this, which is extremely alarming. And but regardless of how many events continue to occur, you know, these companies, and not just companies but individuals, everyone still just needs to remain vigilant and to do all of the proactive and the proactive steps required, you know,
yeah, I
to
think
enhance their
sometimes
security.
that many organizations, huge organizations, they look at it from a money standpoint. They want you to check the block. Okay, yeah, we have a security team. Check. Yeah, we have all this stuff in place. Check. Yes, we have the servers. We have the latest technology. Yes, we do our updates. Yes, check the block. Check, check, check. But when it comes down to it, if you, this is just my opinion, if you look into their documentation, I'm pretty certain there's a lot of risk-based decisions documentations out there. And what those are is basically saying, yeah, we understand we have this risk, we have this vulnerability, but we are going to accept the risk so that way we can check this off the block. So if they were to get audited, it will show that they have everything in order. They're accepting the risk if anything were to happen. So let's say they have they need to update their servers. Well, we're not going to do that because it's going to cost too much money. Let's do a risk-based decision, or let's do a POAM, a plan, action, and milestones document to say, okay, yes, we're going to get that done in 2 years. And then once the 2 years happen, yeah, we're going to get that done in another 2 years. But we have a plan in place to get it fixed, but they never get it fixed. So I think a lot of organizations, they check the blocks, but then something happens. And then they want to hurry up and invest the money into getting that vulnerability fixed instead of keep putting it off. That's just my opinion. So when you have these massive breaches, such as this, the 500 million at the Marriott, then also the 60 million at the U.S. Post Office, they've known about these holes in their systems. They've known about that. They probably had some eager IT professional telling them over and over again, this needs to get fixed. But someone's saying, no, let's just write it off. We'll take care of it later, kind of thing. And that's my opinion. Not from any prior experience, just saying, just my opinion about how this stuff happens. So back a while ago in South Carolina, the what was it? The IRS, I believe, was hacked, and a whole bunch of people's information was at risk. And it turned out to be they weren't updating their servers, and they were using old systems and processes and stuff. So they had a whole bunch of risk-based decisions and all these documents in place to say, yes, we're going to get it fixed, we're going to get it fixed. Never got it fixed. Boom, this happened. Like all of South Carolina was at risk. And, so that's my thoughts. Whenever a hack as big as this happened, it was a hack, and they said, hey, people from last week to this week, you were affected. Oh, okay. But when something this big happens, no, they've known about this for a while. That's just my thoughts and my opinions on that one.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I recall one of my information specialist classes in the past, going over this case study regarding one of the largest U.S. hacks in the last decade towards the government. And it was extensive. And again, the case study, it laid out very clearly that the information officer for that particular organization, just like you said, had report after report. And the sad thing is, it was like years of reports by this information officer as far as, revealing these vulnerabilities that were just overlooked. It was deemed a lower priority. And it wasn't until that breach occurred to where, people started doing damage control. But at that point, it's far too late. It's far too late and the damage is already done. A company like the Marriott, which is so extensive and in the wake of some of the largest breaches that we've seen over let's just say the last 5 years, I would say that I would hope, that a company like the Marriott would have taken those precautions. But regardless of if they did or not, the breach did occur. Mm-hmm. And at this point, what do they do next? What do they do moving forward? They plug that hole in their security, and what?
And they need to offer what do they do? Protection to everybody who has been affected. That's what they need to do, and that's going to end up costing them even more money.
Was it what was the previous breach? Was it the Equifax breach?
Mm-hmm. Equifax.
So Equifax, they had that breach and they offered free protection, or free credit monitoring. But it's like, in my mind, I'm just like, the damage is already done. That information is already out there. You can plug the holes, but that information is already out. So, for that company to do what? To deploy the latest safeguards at that point? Like, how can they make their customer base feel secure, like at that point? Your information is already out there.
That is true. And that's a good, very good question that I really don't have the answer to, and I don't know. I think that answer, people's answers will be different. Different people will feel more secure if they just something as just offer privacy protection. Some people maybe require their answer may be more advanced than the others, but I think everyone's answer for that one is different. Is very.
You're right, and it would be, but I definitely feel like for a lot of people, it would just suffice for that company just to acknowledge that they made a mistake, or maybe not necessarily a mistake. I'll give a company a benefit of the doubt that they are doing everything, that they're supposed to do. They're deploying the latest tactics, the latest safeguards, the latest monitoring systems, the absolute latest and greatest of technologies, keeping up with everything. I'll give companies the benefit of the doubt. And I acknowledge that, if someone is skilled at what they're doing and they really want something, then 9 times out of 10, it might be too difficult to stop that person. So I acknowledge that. But
Yeah.
being realistic, when that breach does occur, what can a company really do other than to acknowledge that the incident occurred and to offer some type of of pat on the back, or just letting the customers know that, hey, we acknowledge that we messed up. We're going to offer you free credit monitoring. I think for a lot of people that's enough. They recognize that the information is already out there, and they recognize that this company that they show some loyalty to
Yeah.
gave them something. But for me, I feel like, like, I understand the situation, but that's not enough for me.
That's not
It's
enough
just
for me
not.
either. And if it's something that kind of happened, it's just recent, then okay, this hasn't been a vulnerability for that long. I understand. But if it's been a vulnerability for a few years and you are choosing not to get it fixed, then I feel like I had the right to sue you for negligence of my personal and private information. Okay, that's what I feel. I have the right to sue you for that because now you put me at risk. And then if my information does get compromised, that's everything about me that's gone.
Hmm.
So I feel like I should sue you for negligence.
Yeah, it's a breach of trust. It is a breach of trust. Like you're joining this company or giving your information to this entity with the thought that they are going to protect your information. And
Exactly.
honestly, I've always been, of mind of why do some of these companies need all of that information? Like,
You
why do they
know,
need so much detail about someone in the first place if they weren't going to use that as a secondary source of income and sell it to other marketing types of companies?
I agree, but
I first,
also on like apps on your phone. Why do you need access to all of my stuff? Why do you need access to my pictures, my text messages, my phone calls when all I want to do is just play a game? You know what I'm saying? So I think people just like organizations just go overboard, and then you really want this game, you might hit next, yes, 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 whatever. Now you're playing the game, not knowing that it is reading everything on your phone. Okay, so
hmm
I think there really should be some type of hard regulations put in place for some of these applications and the amount of information that some of these organizations take from their customers. And a really good thing that I like about the fact that we are now in a technology-based era is that our children are growing up into this. So as our children grow up into this technology inspired environment, they can think of ways to change it and to make it better. Because I mean, honestly, the folks that we have nowadays, not saying any name, but they're like old heads. They're used to paper and pencil. You know what I mean? So they're not like up to date. I
like,
mean, when I was watching
just,
the congressional hearing for Facebook,
oh yeah, I was about
it
to
was
say that. Just,
ridiculous. They didn't even know how the internet worked. You know what I mean? So I think as time progresses, some of these laws, outdated laws, might I add, that are in place are going to change, and that is the beauty that I see with this technology-based era nowadays with the millennials, the new millennials. So this is awesome to me. Just know that there could be a lot of change in the future. Um, but I mean, speaking of
you know what it starts with?
what,
In my opinion, I think it starts with, just like you said, it's awesome that our children are growing up this technology generation where we are, and that congressional hearing was a prime example of our current leadership. People in office now are so out of touch with how things are at the present. That just like you said, they understand the internet. They're asking how does Facebook make money when they don't charge people to sign up. Just basic stuff like that. So
it was
I
ridiculous.
definitely, yeah, I definitely think that changing things, changing things on a fundamental societal level is where we really do need to start. Take people out of office that don't understand technology or the dangers of it, and put people in that do. Put modern people in these places, because
Yes.
what's what the reason why these companies are able to get away with so much, regardless of if they are actually doing all the safeguards and doing everything and checking every single box, that they need to for liability purposes, regardless of what they're doing, they're able to do that based on laws that are not designed to regulate technology companies.
Yep.
It's not designed to regulate, or put any types of guidance on just where things are now.
Yeah, and I will say that some of that is changing with the GDPR. So some of that
mm-hmm.
stuff is changing, but not so much, not in my opinion. But with technology is everywhere, and technology nowadays is replacing people. And I know a lot of companies and they're employing like devices to, for something like McDonald's to use like a touch screen to order your food. I know a while ago there was like a big controversy about, technology is replacing people and people are losing jobs. So with that type of technology, I found this interesting and yet disgusting article about McDonald's touchscreen. The article said that poop, fecal matter, was found on the self-ordering machines in several different locations in England and London and Birmingham. And I am so afraid that they test the machines here, like what they will find. I mean, that's disgusting. So, technology is advancing. We have these machines out, but the simple things is not being taken care of. And here you are, you're ordering your burger, and you might want to wash your hands after you touch that device. So putting that out there.
That's pretty gross. And just the thought of that makes you want to go find and track down some hand sanitizer right now. But
yeah, it makes you
but I will say,
wary on the stuff you touch, huh?
Yeah. So, and the sad thing is for McDonald's is to have that event associated with their image, with their name, right? Like you're going into McDonald's and you're ordering, and be careful with the touchscreen because there could be fecal matter. So, yeah.
So granted, they
as
can't,
far as McDonald's,
make everybody wash their hands when they use the bathroom, but they could.
Oh, right.
Hand sanitizer out there,
But it's unfortunate for McDonald's at least to have that associated with their image. But I would say that there is something to be said with just general awareness as well. General awareness for the consumer. The consumer going around really anywhere. They just need to be mindful of their environment, of other consumers.
Yeah.
I know when I go to a gas station, I typically find myself, just using just like a tissue to grab the gas handle because, where I'm using this gas handle, I'm using this gas handle at 3 p.m., on Friday. So I don't know how many people have used that gas handle just that day or just that week or just that month.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's no telling what I'm touching. So I think that same concept applies to really anything in a public venue, even a door handle at some super fancy restaurant. It might be a little more upscale than your typical fast food place, but there are still objects and used items that you just have to be mindful of that other people have been touching. So I think that, again, it's unfortunate for McDonald's to have that, broadcast, like that towards their image.
Attached to them about the fecal matter on every touchscreen that they tested. And then, just everybody, please, it's just not just McDonald's touchscreen. It's, the little the little thing when you go and pay for your stuff, put your credit card in, you put your PIN in, or
Oh
whatever.
yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
touch, like all this technology is, touch, 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 and biometrics. You got to put your finger down for the read.
That's true.
So just make sure that you sanitize and stop the spread of bacteria. Ugh. So,
So
oh man,
biometrics. I going to my particular gym that I go to. You're absolutely right with that. Biometrics, which I totally forgot until just now thinking of. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I use my thumbprint, at this gym to sign in and to be granted access. So I always use the hand sanitizer provided. But as you can imagine, the amount of people that just flow through there with just touching this little button
well,
after
I think
button.
at the gym there's other things you need to worry about as far as not being clean.
That's true.
But let's not get into that. So I just want to put that out. You might want to use hand sanitizer regardless. So, let's go ahead and wrap up. So very, very, very interesting topics. And there's nothing else I need to add. There's something else you want to add, Chance?
No, but I would implore the viewers to take a look at the website. It really is pretty fantastic. And I look forward to jumping on the next podcast.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Again, the website is www.cyber-misfits.com. You can find a lot of pictures and screensavers there to help you with your feng shui in your office, which is, your environment, your space. You can do mentoring or coaching services. And then you can also have me help you with your interview. This is all face-to-face and virtual. So you just let me know. Again, it was nice speaking with you guys. We'll see you on next podcast.
Right on. Right on. Take care, guys.
All right.